Hello and welcome back to Creature Chronicles. Today's video is all about the UK's only resident parrot species, the rose-ringed parakeet.
There are 5 main theories on how these psychedelic pigeons came to be here, and I'll be going through each of them in this video to get to the green, feathery bottom of it.
These birds made themselves particularly at home in some of London's parks, such as Richmond Park and Bushy Park where we are now. And this is mainly due to the abundance of mature oak trees like this one that are full of holes that make perfect nesting spots for them.
Right, let's dive into theory number 1. This first theory is perhaps the most well known out of all of the theories. In 1968, legendary guitarist old Jimmy H took a break from his rocking out to release a pair of parakeets named Adam and Eve as a symbol of peace on Carnaby Street in central London. During the 60s, birds were more popular pets than even cats and dogs, with around 11 million being kept in captivity. Although this incident is the answer you'd be most likely to receive should you ask a Londoner how parakeets came to inhabit the city, this theory has since been debunked. In 1951, the film The African Queen was filmed in part in Isleworth in West London. It features the likes of Katharine Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart, and was set in the swamps of East Africa. Many exotic animals were used in the film, supposedly including rose-ringed parakeets. One story states that when they wrapped up filming, they released the birds into the skies of London. Crocodiles also featured in this film, so hopefully they didn't slip them into the Thames when they were done too. This theory has also now been debunked.
Hopefully any regular viewers of my channel have already noticed the rather majestic lengthening camera quality as well as the crispy slow motion, and that is all thanks to this.
The Canon R6 Mark II.
I can now film the creatures I find in 4K at 60 frames per second or full HD in up to 180 frames per second. Ooh! So expect to see a lot of slow motion from now on, as well as being able to see into the very soul of these animals' eyes, as this has specific animal eye tracking technology. This thing's a beast. And I also have this new lens that gives me an extra smidgen of zoom. These animals don't have a chance.
This next theory is the idea that parakeets escaped from Syon Park in West London during the 1970s, when debris from a plane crash damaged the aviary roof, allowing them to bugger off. Although this theory comes up repeatedly if you research how parakeets came to be in the UK, I couldn't find any actual records of the plane crash itself, which certainly seems odd to me. This is another theory to chuck on the debunked pile.
Right, I'm pretty sure there's some parakeets in this hole actually, so I'm just going to peek the camera over very quietly and hopefully give you a little look at them.
Did I say parakeets? I meant to say Patreon. If you enjoy my channel, I'd massively appreciate your support so that I can continue to make these videos for you. And the new camera and lens cost me an arm and a leg, and a few other bits too, so now would be an especially handy time. The link will be down below, as well as links for all the gear I use. Time for another theory. You've probably heard of the phrase sick as a parrot. This originates from psittacosis, which is a respiratory disease that can be transmitted from birds to people and can even result in pneumonia and potentially death. There was a wave of this disease in the late 1920s and again in the 1950s. This led to many people releasing their beloved birds out of fear of contracting the disease themselves. This is the first theory that seems to have been accepted by at least some researchers, along with the final theory. In 1987, the UK was battered with quite a storm by our standards, with winds blowing up to 100 miles per hour that sadly resulted in the death of 22 people. It also caused a vast amount of destruction, including damage to multiple aviaries, which led to a variety of birds escaping. According to the Journal of Zoology, this is the most likely theory as to why parakeets now call London home, as their numbers increased substantially between 1986 and 1999. Stephen Lacumba recently led research into all of this at the Queen Mary University in London. Lacumba and his team used geographic profiling methods and subsequently concluded that the parakeet's population has grown from numerous accidental escapes as well as intentional releases. They did look into all the other theories, but none of these locations showed up prominently on the heat map of over 5,000 records of parakeets dating from 1968 to 2018. So unfortunately, it seems like the most mundane theories are true. I personally enjoy the Jimi Hendrix theory the most, so I think I'll keep that myth alive myself if anyone ever asks me how they got here. As I mentioned earlier, these parrots' preferred nesting sites are in holes in trees. Therefore, other native species such as woodpeckers, nuthatches and starlings that do the same have to compete for these same sites. There are currently an estimated 12,000 pairs of rose-winged parakeets, but this number is steadily growing, so this may become a bigger issue as time goes on. There is also a similar issue of competition when it comes to food sources. This can be accentuated in winter when food is more scarce. People originally thought that these exotic birds would struggle during British winters, as they come from Central Africa and Southern Asia, but they have proven to be very resilient and seem to cope fine during the chilly months. They also live much longer than many of our bird species, up to 30 years in fact, so they're definitely here for the long haul. One other issue that you may understand yourself by this point in the video is that they're particularly noisy birds. This isn't a massive deal, but should they spread outside of cities where they generally choose to live, it would be a bit sad to have the symphony of native British birds drowned out by this. If you enjoyed this video, I bet you'd love my other stuff too, so feel free to subscribe for more and I'll see you in the next one.